Hello and welcome to Stupid Ancient History with Midgley
and Taylor and our expert, non-expert and special guest James, Lord High Commander of the Science Cupboard, first of his name and knower of nothing.
Hello.
As always, we're wearing togas, we're eating olives, and today we're going to look at the Tarquin conspiracy. Previously on Stupid Ancient History, we've been looking at the fall of the Roman kings under the reign of Lucius Tarquinius Superbus.
He was a bit of a wrong'un, wasn't he? Would you agree, James?
A little bit.
Yeah, and how the actions of his third son, Sextus, made it plain to the Roman people that any future king would clearly continue in this Superbus mould.
And Sextus was also a massive wrong'un, so that was completely
Yeah, until before him, it was kind of a bit comedy, and then just aggressive rapist. He kind of tipped the scale a little bit.
He did. So with the camel's back finally broken, the Romans overthrew their king, locking him out of the city.
Like the biggest letdown ever. They just change the keys. I'm so upset by that.
Yeah, but what were you expecting? If they
Murder. This is all about.
Yeah, but it'll spoil what comes next.
Okay.
Yeah, and with the expulsion of the king, Rome adopted a new, if not slightly complex system of government, the Republic.
That was really simple and wasn't corrupt at all.
Yeah.
Even from just explaining it to me last time, it sounded dodgy as anything.
It was. And the other major dodgy issue was that the plebs didn't have any say or any rights whatsoever.
No. So they've now got their fancy, very easy to understand system of government.
Yep.
That, will be fine, I'm sure. So what they do with it, what happens?
Well, first job, they have to elect the two consuls to organise what should happen next.
Right, so they're like the two leaders, aren't they? Yeah. So who are they?
So Brutus was the first and most obvious choice,
The ground kissing.
Yeah.
So, because he was also the one who started this kind of little revolution as well.
Yeah. Okay. The other one?
The second the consul is called Tarquinius Collatinus, who's the husband of the ill-fated Lucretia.
Oh, okay. So they're kind of mates already. So how much of a balance is that going to offer?
Well, I mean, it's not that they're mates, it's just that they're deemed as the most rightful people to take over.
Right, because they kind of started the uprising.
Yeah, they're the two guys who've got rid of Superbus, so they seem to know what they're doing. It would make sense, but there's a problem.
Of course there is.
So Livy says, the second consul, Tarquinius Collatinus, bore an unpopular name. This was his sole offence.
So just he's called Tarquinius.
Yeah.
Right. Okay.
So is it a bit like, if someone was called Stalin, they might not be looked on that favourably?
Yeah. No,
I mean, I would, if we ever get to go back to Italy, I would like to know how many Mussolinis there are. Benito, is that still a popular name?
I'm not sure.
Yeah.
Probably more than
quite
Mussolini.
Like Benito. That's quite nice.
It has, but again, it has been tainted a little bit.
Yeah. So anyway, I mean, it's not. They don't like the name. No, I mean the Roman people. They are a suspicious bunch at this point, and they think that because of the name Tarquin, he's going to be working for the deposed king.
It's obvious though, isn't it, that Superbus did a massive number on them because they're just all really paranoid.
Yeah, they're in some kind of post-traumatic stress.
How common a name was it? It's like, all Bills now are suddenly...
No, it's not. It's his surname, so he's of the Tarquin family.
All Joneses. Ooh. So just because he's called Tarquin, they're sus. They're not keen on him. And they think, what? So, to what extent? Just they don't like the name, or they think he's going to bring back Superbus?
Well, that's one of the worries. I mean, clearly they've forgotten about his whole dead wife situation.
My assaulted and murdered. Well, she killed herself. But my dead assaulted wife. Glossed over that bit.
Yeah, they've forgotten about that entirely, it seems. And it's a fair point. I mean, at no point does the discussion, or according to Livy, steer towards the fact that it was her who was raped by Sextus, a Tarquin, and then killed herself. But again, they're just obsessed with his name.
Right, okay. So when you say people are suspicious of the name, is this the plebs or the plebs and the patricians?
Everyone.
Everyone, even though the patricians put him there?
Pretty much.
Okay.
But he's got this dodgy name.
It's typical though, isn't it? Just ignore the dead woman.
Yeah, nothing to see here.
It's fine. She's popped it.
But he's got a dodgy name.
It's not like there's nothing to see. They carry her through the city.
Yeah. But yeah, they've moved on from that. So rumours spread quickly around Rome. He's called Tarquin. Ooh.
It's not much of a rumour, it's a fact.
And with the people becoming more and more convinced that Collatinus is either working for Superbus or because of his name will become the next Superbus.
So they kind of think, don't they, that there's something inherently evil about the name Tarquinius.
Yeah.
And that Collatinus is basically going to try and make himself king one day. I suppose it's the same connotation, isn't it? I know we're laughing, but like, is it illegal to call someone Hitler because it's got such horrendous connotations?
Possibly in Germany.
Yeah,
I don't know.
that's what I mean. I'm sure that
still not
there
a
are
good
countries
idea.
where it is. So it's the same thing, isn't it?
Yeah, but they become obsessed that he's going to, because of his name, he just won't be able to help himself and become the next king.
But they've put in all these checks and balances to make sure he could never do that.
Yeah, but they still think he will.
Okay. So, does he?
Well, it's not does he, it's how would he.
Right, how... Should that... So if he were to be evil... Oh, God, no, I know what you're going to say. Say it.
Evil schemes!
So cross.
Yeah.
If he were to have evil schemes...
What kind of schemes?
Evil scheme! So easy.
Stop talking
Right.
a minute.
Anyway, so this is the problem. But Brutus, being Brutus and awesome, comes up with a suggestion.
Change his name?
Not quite.
Okay, that would have been really easy.
He suggests that Collatinus removes himself from office.
And Rome.
I was going to say, removes himself, because I know they were big on suicide, the Romans.
No. Just
Not like that.
Leave. So to finish the job of...
Sorry, how quickly did all this happen? Like, your consul, oh, I don't like you, go.
We're not sure, but it seems very quick in
Right,
Livy.
okay.
So to finish the job of ending the rule of the Tarquins, he sweetens the deal with Collatinus by promising him that all his property and all his stuff will be safe. They're not going to seize it from him as long as he just goes away. Or Livy says,
These fears it is for you, Lucius Tarquinius, to banish of your own free will. We have not forgotten, I assure you, that you expelled the king's family. Complete your good work, remove their very name. Your fellow citizens will, on my authority, not only hand over your property, but if you need anything, they will add to it with lavish generosity. Go as our friend, relieve Rome from a perhaps groundless fear. Men are persuaded not that only with the family will the tyranny of the Tarquins depart.
Right, okay.
they're making him an offer he can't refuse, really.
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
like, we know it's not your fault. We know it's just a name. But, if you could just, do one, that would be great.
All these stuff will be super
Bug off
safe,
anyway.
honest.
Yeah, and look, you can take it with you.
So they're obviously... They like a big grand gesture, the
Yeah.
Romans, don't they? So does he take the deal?
Yes, he does.
And
He takes the deal.
does it make the people happy?
Well, yeah, pretty much. I mean, he makes sure that all his property is removed from the city and sent to this Roman colony called Lanuvium, where he's heading off to,
Okay.
before heading there himself in a sort of self-imposed exile.
And that makes everyone happy.
Yeah,
That's it?
Yeah.
Just that's all it takes. Just you go away and we're all right.
yeah,
Okay? Don't they now need another consul?
they do indeed, and they elect a new consul.
Called Publius Valerius.
That name's fine. They're just okay with Publius Valerius.
Yep.
Okay, who's he?
He's one of the others who helped Brutus
And Collatinus.
kick Superbus out of Rome.
Right, so they got rid of one of the guys who helped overthrow
Yeah.
the king because they didn't like his name.
Yeah,
So they've just gone for another one.
Another one.
Who helped overthrow the king.
yeah.
They don't know. They stopped kicking out random leaders.
Not quite.
So
Over to Livy.
Livy says, though no one doubted that war with the Tarquins was imminent, it did not come as soon as was universally expected. What was not expected, however, was that through intrigue and treachery, the new liberty won was almost lost.
Right, okay. That sounds scary.
Yeah.
So I was wondering about this, because you mentioned about, in that Livy reading, about lost liberty and stuff.
Yeah.
And you said a Tarquin conspiracy
Yep.
earlier. What is Superbus up to? Presumably he's still knocking about somewhere.
He is. He's up to
an evil scheme.
You're really not loving that, are you?
I'm really not.
So anyway, I mean, yeah, Superbus is gone from the city, but he's still about, and he clearly still thinks that he can make a comeback. He still thinks Rome is his, and who are these cretins kicking him out? So his first attempt to get back is through trickery.
Even though that's what they didn't like about him.
Yeah, but you know, it's easier than a war. But I mean, it's not just down to him. So Livy sets the scene like this.
There were some young men of high birth in Rome who during Tarquin's reign had done pretty much what they pleased, and being bound companions of the young Tarquins were accustomed to live in royal fashion.
Right, okay. So are these kind of similar people who, when he was kind of gaining support against the previous king, it was like the people that his family put in place, and
yeah, but also it's like just young posh boys doing what they want.
His mates who
yeah.
One
law for everyone else. A law that doesn't really apply to
us.
So
they're
some things never change.
But they're still in power. They haven't driven out all his supporters.
No. They're members of the patrician classes. They're young, wealthy have-it-alls who want it all.
Members of the Senate.
Too young to be in the Senate, probably.
Right, okay.
Their dads are probably members of the Senate, or like their granddads were, or you know.
Yeah. So I mean, Livy also chips in.
Liberty, which others enjoyed, had become slavery for them.
Okay. So they're not having a great time.
Well,
with Superbus gone, they're not having a great time.
Yeah, because they have to obey the rules.
They have to maybe do some work.
Yeah, well, not even that. They just have to obey the rules. And
how dare they?
I know, and it's terrible for them. And one of their main complaints is that living under the law is too tough, because the law just won't forgive them and for any misdeeds they do, like the former king would.
I was going to say, do we know what they were doing?
Not good things, presumably.
Well, no, like sexist level things, or
possibly.
Right,
he doesn't give us any detail. You just get this idea that there's this class of young, wealthy patricians wandering around Rome, doing what they want, and no one can stop them because they're mates with the king.
Right. Okay.
Which, like we said, is quite funny, isn't it? It's like history repeating
things
itself.
Things really don't change.
Things don't change in any civilization, do you? You always get some posh twerp that can go around doing whatever they like.
Because they can pay for the good lawyers.
Because they can pay for it.
Mm. So anyway, there's ample scope for some kind of Tarquin-based shenanigans in Rome with these people who want a return to the old way. Yeah. They just need something to start it off.
What, do they have something to start it?
They do, and Livy adds on.
Envoys from the royal family arrived, bringing a demand for the restoration of their property without any direct mention of their possible return.
Okay.
He wants his stuff back.
Yeah. Did they not leave his sofa and stuff outside when they changed the locks?
I mean, that's what we're doing in East Manchester, obviously.
Oh wow, you're making jokes about East Manchester.
I can, I live there.
So yeah, cheeky as it may seem, Superbus sends his envoys to Rome demanding the return of his property and his wealth he's not managed to take with him when they changed the locks.
But he's not asking to come back.
No.
Right. He's not that dumb.
He's not that dumb, no. So the issue is duly discussed in the Senate, and the discussions carry on for several days.
So 1,000 of them.
Well, there is that. There's 300, not 1,000.
Sorry.
But probably the demand raised a real conundrum for the Romans. Not giving him his property back could be seen as an excuse to declare war.
Hmm.
But if they return his property, then he might use it to pay for a war against Rome.
So
that's the other thing, isn't it?
When we say property back, the worth of it, because presumably he has lands as well. And stuff,
lands, value, money to do with it.
Just give me my things back and pay me for the land you've taken off me, sort of thing. Okay, so accept or deny, it seems like war's possible.
Yeah.
What army has he got? Surely he has no friends.
Well, that's a good question, but even though he's massively hated in Rome and their colonies, there are a lot of other little local rulers who really, really don't like the idea of a republic.
Yeah, and they really, really hoped that their people didn't get hold of the idea and kick them out.
Right.
Because that's the thing, isn't it? If you've got a republic that seems good in one place,
if
it gets transplanted to others, then all the kings are out of...
even like they don't like the idea of republic. Are these people not going like, yeah, come live with us, Superbus? Just don't do that thing that Sextus did and like undermine our government.
Well, yeah,
and
I mean,
do us in.
This is the thing. They see it as a very temporary thing. It's like soon he'll be back over there, and that's Rome's problem.
Right. Okay.
So yeah, tyrannical as he was, Superbus, he wouldn't struggle to find supporters who wanted this new republic dead and buried and forgotten, and they're willing to put up with him.
So these envoys have turned up at Rome.
Yep.
The people even give them the time of day because they've just turned up being dodgy.
Well, no, they've got to give them it's a diplomatic mission, but I mean, they're also there not just with their diplomatic mission, they've got their own schemes going on.
Are they evil schemes?
They are indeed. So, it seems that the demand for the return of Superbus's cash is simply it's just a cover for a much darker scheme. Or as Livy puts it,
the envoys, meantime, were engaged on another task. Whilst apparently seeking only the surrender of the property, they were secretly hatching schemes for regaining the crown.
Right, okay. So what was that?
Livy?
They brought letters addressed to them by the Tarquins and discussed plans for admitting them secretly at night into the city. It's going to smuggle them in, basically.
That just them by themselves, that wouldn't do much good.
It's kind of like, surprise, I'm back. So the plan, it seems, is to make contact with some of these kind of disaffected, wealthy young Romans wandering around complaining about having to follow the rules.
Yeah.
Boo-hoo for them is all I say.
You can't bear to live under this new law. And they're going to use them to somehow get Superbus back into power.
Okay.
The idea that there'll be enough people to go, yeah.
And have they found them? There are enough support for that sort of thing.
Livy?
The project was at first entrusted to the brothers Vitelli and, is it Aquili?
Yeah, Aquili.
Aquili. The sister of the Vitelli was married to the consul Brutus, and there were grown-up children from this marriage. Titus and Tiberius, their uncles, took them into the conspiracy. There were others besides whose names have been lost.
Wait, so that's Brutus who overthrew the Tarquins? His family are like...
Yep.
Why? They've got it... Surely they've got it pretty good now. Like, their husband, uncle is co-ruler of Rome.
But he's doing that weird thing that they don't like.
What?
Obeying the law.
How dare he? So they've had these secret... They've snuck him in.
Yeah.
They've had secret meetings with the guy in charge's family.
Yeah.
They're clearly morons. What do they do next? I'm really afraid to know.
So, as the Senate are considering the original request for Superbus's stuff, and they're starting to come round to the idea, just get shot of him.
Yeah, and Livy actually says the decision took so long as the Senate struggled to find enough carts to carry it all.
So he's got so much stuff they can't
carry it all at once. Yeah, but they just think, right, if he takes that, he's gone.
I know it didn't happen, and I can't complain that much. Why didn't they just kill him when they had the chance?
Because then we won't be up to these schemes. So while they're still debating this gives the envoys plenty of time to organise themselves to the point where
they insisted on getting a letter which they were to give to the Tarquins, for without such guarantee, they argued, how could they be sure that their envoys had not brought back empty promises in a matter of such vast importance?
Because that's what you need in a secret plot. A letter outlining all of your plans.
I was going to say, like, evidence.
Yeah.
These guys are so stupid.
Can you tell what happens next?
Does someone lose the letter?
Oh, Livy?
The envoys happened to be dining at the house of the Vitelli. After all, who were not in the secret had left, the conspirators discussed many details respecting their planned treason, which were overheard by one of the slaves.
I really hope they get what they deserve. I'm so cross.
So, funnily enough, not being one of these people who was suffering under the new republic, if anything, this slave might actually have benefited from this. He goes straight to the consuls. Imagine that.
I know. Who would have thought? So, It's not perfect, this republic. It's all got slaves.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're never
Yeah.
going to get rid of them because who's going to do the washing? I was going to say something like, that's like now that's why you have a wife, isn't it? But then maybe I just.
Oh, there we go.
Wow.
The voice of 21st century thinking. So anyway.
No, not thinking, experience.
Wow.
So anyway.
the slave goes to the consul.
Slaves go
So
straight
he's-
to the consuls.
And he's grassing up Brutus's family.
Yep.
Okay.
And then Livy chips in with.
They at once proceeded to arrest the envoys and the conspirators and crush the whole plot without causing any alarm. Their first care was to secure the letter before it was destroyed. The traitors were forthwith thrown into prison.
And presumably they kept all of Superbus's stuff.
Yeah, well,
Like, screw you.
You'd flog it, wouldn't you? Like, sell that, get some cash.
again, if you are ever find yourself involved in some secret plot,
Don't write it
don't
down.
write it down in a letter that can be taken.
Never leave a paper trail, idiots.
Well, it wasn't even that got them caught, though, was
They're
it? It was
they're
the fact that they
talking
were
out
too
loud, yeah.
I mean, I'd be screwed, wouldn't I?
Yeah.
I hear you from like the other side of Rome.
So the traitors are arrested, but there's some discussion over what to do with these envoys.
Clearly kill them all.
Well,
They are, after all, diplomatic envoys from a now foreign power.
Yeah, but they
So-
try to overturn your government.
yeah,
Yeah, but if you deal with them really badly, then you could inadvertently start
you're
a war,
gonna
couldn't you?
which is what they don't want. So they're let go. The envoys are told do
Right,
one,
Okay.
but their return will clearly also let Superbus know that his plan has failed.
Yeah. Good. You should write him a letter just saying that all the ways he was an idiot. But they've sent this lot packing.
Yeah.
How does that go down?
Well,
Um,
not well for them.
No, obviously after this kind of evil scheme,
So
the
sick
Senate
of it.
are in no mood to give Superbus his stuff back.
Good.
So they distribute it amongst the plebs. It's the first nice
Oh, they
thing
do?
that's happened to the plebs.
It's also a massive insult to Superbus.
Yeah, well,
Oh, we've taken your stuff. Where is it? Giving it to these guys.
see all these slaves walking around with like gold necklaces.
Blade.
on, like,
Yeah.
La la la.
But then there's the issue of punishing the traitors. More specifically, that Brutus has to oversee the execution of his own sons.
Which he does without showing any sign of emotion, it seems, anyway, as they are duly beheaded.
That's
Maybe he took a lot of
I mean-
drugs. Like, if he was like, I don't know.
Where did that come from?
wow.
No, I mean, like, to be able to stand there and watch your own kids getting heads chopped off, there's either got to be something slightly wrong.
I
or
mean, do we
you've
have
got
any
to be
evidence
right.
to suggest he liked them to begin with?
Probably.
Inebriated.
So yeah, this is all ending on a bit of a downer then, isn't
Yeah,
it?
but well, there's a little light at the end of the tunnel. You remember that slave who exposed the whole plot?
Yeah. What happens to him? Does he get presents?
Well,
he,
yeah.
he gets given his freedom by the Republic and a shed load of cash.
That's good.
Yeah, that was nice.
Does he go on to do anything? Do we know more about him?
Spend his cash.
Well, I hope he lived the high life.
yeah.
Rolling his dough.
So if he's freed and loaded, would that make him a rich pleb or like lowly patrician? Where would he fall into the social structure?
He's just a baller right now, isn't he? He doesn't care. He's just got money that he's never had and stuff he can do. He's living his best life.
Fair
I
enough.
would not wipe my own ass ever again.
Oh my god.
Again, where did that come from? And I think we should move on from that
think we
quite
should.
swiftly.
You could.
So with the Tarquin conspiracy, then, it raises a few issues. I mean, the first one we should address is that this is the first of a series of attempts by Superbus to make a comeback into Rome. This is done without the discomfort of war, but obviously now that this fails, this leads on to what's called the Wars of Independence, where he does bring armies and tries to retake Rome. So yeah, he's gone, but not forgotten, which is why they didn't kill him, because then this bit wouldn't happen.
Right, okay. It's just they knew it'd make a good story thousands of years later.
Yeah.
Yeah, and
Why
then
not?
the other thing as well is that you've got problems, haven't you, with this new system of government. So it shows that the Republic might be a nice idea, but it is still very vulnerable to people that don't like it. And ultimately, if you have got a power vacuum, which in somewhere like Rome, where you've always had a strong ruler before, and now you've gone from that to somewhere where it's all about voting, it's supposed to be democratic. If you've got that vacuum there, you're always going to have someone who's got the idea that there should be a strong ruler, or someone who is very kind of strong-willed and strong-minded and thinks, well, I should be the person that's in charge.
Well, did they not immediately undermine their own system by getting rid of one of the consuls just because they had a weird name they didn't like?
Yeah, sort of.
Well,
but I mean, the big issue, it's not necessarily the problems within the Republic, which you have pointed out numerous times. It's this idea of pressures from outside. So
Yeah.
it's really, really similar to the kind of thing that happens in Athens when they discover democracy, and all the surrounding kings do not like that at all, and they worry about it spreading.
So where is Rome at this point? How substantial a power is it?
Small.
Right, okay.
It's still a city-state with a few little colonies. It's not really expanded out of central Italy.
Okay.
It's still finding its feet. But these are the foundations it's laying.
But it doesn't matter, does it? Because that paranoia, that kind of strength of paranoia, is something that will transcend to different areas, regardless of how big Rome is as an actual state. It's something that you see, don't you, continuously. If you think about, although it's obviously a lot later, and you're talking about countries that are much bigger and much more powerful, but if you think about the impact of things like the American Revolution and the French Revolution on
Russian Revolution,
on other European powers, and the amount of kind of paranoia that creates, and this fear that, oh, well, if they fall, then we're going to fall. It's that idea, isn't it? People
ultimately, the same thing is played out, but in this very small confine. And that's part of what Livy's writing as well. He's writing about the foundations of Rome under the new emerging imperial system.
They're small, but they're significant. It's not like, oh, silly, backwards, tiny town. Let them have their...
No, because this is Rome. It's awesome. Yeah. But again, same with this idea of using Rome as this microcosm. We've got some important things that come out of this as well. I mean, you get this idea of the return of the rule of law, that the law is absolute. So Brutus has to execute his own sons for the law and for, again, this idea of the glory of Rome. And again, it's that self-sacrifice. We've seen it all. It's an emerging theme. Romulus kills his brother for the glory of Rome.
For jumping over a fence.
For the glory of Rome. In the same way that Brutus now, to elevate himself to great, awesome guy, has to sacrifice himself of himself, in this case his sons, for the glory of Rome.
But that's something that you see even later on, isn't it? So a lot of emperors, even as you go further down the line, I know we always come to Augustus, but...
You always come to Augustus.
I always come to Augustus. But if we're thinking about Augustus, he... kind of penalises, I'm trying to think of the word, but punishes members of his own family because they're doing things that are not living up to laws that he's put in place, particularly to do with morality. But it's still that idea of, well, you're sacrificing your own family for the glory of Rome because you've got to be a role model that everyone else can follow. So there's still that thing there. And then, like you were saying about this kind of sacrifice, that is one of the cornerstones of what it is to be a good Roman. So again,
not just a good Roman. I mean, think back to Homer. Everyone's giving things all the way through the Iliad. So it's a common theme that ties Rome.
But it also ties in, doesn't it, with like if you go back to like Lucretia, it's that self-sacrifice again. So it all kind of links together quite neatly. I would say the other thing as well that you've got a major problem when you're thinking about the Republic is the fact that it's supposed to be a republic, but they still ultimately have to have someone or two people who are in charge. So ultimately, if you put someone in that position who is very kind of dominatory, strong-willed, wants to have all that power for themselves, then they're going to be able to manipulate that in a way that is not necessarily great.
You said in one of the readings that the Senate just argued and got very little done, didn't you?
Yeah, and also if those two people that are elected as consul don't get on, then you kind of come to a stalemate, don't you, where, like with the coalition government, nothing happens, nothing will get decided.
They never come to the idea of three, because then there's a tiebreaker, it's just always just two.
Two for now.
Right, okay.
So there you have it, our quick overview of the Tarquin conspiracy. Thank you for listening. We hope this has been useful. Leave us a comment below, and until next time, goodbye.
Bye.
Bye.